The acknowledged expert in the world of Bitcoin said, sell the kidney if you have to, but keep the Bitcoin. This one went crazy viral.
You know, if you say non-controversial, you know, if I were to post, you know, there's some storms over the Caribbean, and like 1 in 1,000 of them becomes, you know, a storm in Miami, and occasionally some of those storms create floods, and you know, if that happens, you might want to think about it, but probably won't make a difference. And meanwhile, there are a lot more important things in the world than this. No one's going to retweet that. If I say there's a storm over the Caribbean that's going to put a 20-foot wall of water over Miami and we're all going to drown, that gets retweeted. You know, so online, if you want to make a point, sometimes you have to be colorful, or you know, people want you to be a little bit witty, or you know, I need some quotable quotes. You need to be entertaining, or you need to be a little bit edgy. And so, believe me, I think you should keep your kidneys. But really, the message I have really is the Bitcoin is a stronger form of capital preservation than your house, than a bar of gold, than a bunch of silver, than a stock, than an index, than a credit instrument, than a stack of currency. All of those things are weaker. And when it comes time to sell something else. Whatever the something else, you probably have crap in your life. I'll see someone and they're like, I have a sexy sports car. You know, that's got a half-life of 7 years. You know, Bitcoin will keep you, you know, you've got $200,000, you bought a sports car, good for you. You'll be wealthy for a decade. You have $200,000, you buy Bitcoin, you'll be wealthy forever. So when it comes time to sell something, sell the thing that has a half-life of 7 years or 2 years or 10 years or 20 years. Don't sell the thing that will make your children's children wealthy, right? Bitcoin is going to have economic value 500 years from now. It's the crown jewel. Like the royal family of Britain, they still own the center of Britain, you know? The emperor of Japan still owns the middle of Tokyo, and the royals in the UAE, they own all the good property. So own the stuff that's going to have value in 1,000 years. They would never sell Windsor, you know, Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, you know. Just like you're a New Yorker, don't sell Central Park. I'm going to sell Central Park to make $1. It's like, Jesus, it's worthwhile 1,000 years from now. You might want to cultivate it. And Bitcoin, I think, is even more valuable than the nicest, most desirable real estate in your favorite place on earth. Bitcoin is going to be around. It's Cyber Manhattan. 1,000 years from now, your children's great 10x grandchildren will be rich if you kept it. And
if they kept it.
And if you sold it to buy a Ferrari, you know, it's like, oh yeah, my great grandfather had a very sexy horse and carriage. I could have been the richest guy in Florida, but my great grandfather wanted velvet in his horse and buggy, and he wanted a nice little bridle because he wanted to impress a girl. I'm like, dude, sell the horse and buggy, keep the Bitcoin.
Keep the kidney as well.
Yeah, keep the kidney.
What's the end game for strategy?
Our end game, we're like a reserve bank. We have a reserve asset, you know, Bitcoin. So we've accumulated $60-70 billion of Bitcoin. We will sell credit. We are stripping the performance and the risk off of the Bitcoin. Bitcoin's got 40 vol and it's got high performance, but most of the world wants 0 vol. They want a bank account that pays them 10 or 11%. They don't want a roller coaster where they're pulling G's and throwing up that pays them 40%, but they have to wait a decade.
You said the market is 100 times bigger for people who want the 10% a year versus the 40% that is volatile, right?
Yeah. So what if you walk down the street and ask 100 people, what do you want? Do you want to work hard for a decade and be rich at the end of the, that's like being a doctor, right? Do you want to go to med school and work hard for nothing for a decade and stay up all night and stress out that you're going to flunk out, but then at the end of 10 years, you'll be comfortable? Or do you just want to be comfortable now? And most people, they want the bank account that pays them at 10%. They want to live happily ever after, or another way to say it is they want to compound their wealth comfortably. If you want to be more aggressive, it's like, okay, well, give me the 10% and I'll lever it up 3 to 1 and I'll get 25% yield, like in DeFi. But I want to preserve my principal. And the general idea is people, if they have a certain amount of wealth, they don't want to risk it all in order to make more. They want to put it to work in a responsible way, and they want to comfortably compound their wealth. They want to manage it. And so our end game is to create that digital credit. For every dollar of equity capital of Bitcoin that we have, we call it digital capital. For every dollar of digital capital, you can create 10 to 20 cents of credit. And so we will, we've sold about $10 billion of credit. We've created 10 plus billion dollars of digital credit. We'll create $20 billion of digital credit over the next year or more. Then we'll grow that 30 to 50% a year. So 20 billion to 40 billion to 60 billion to 80 billion. And what's the long term? And so say we have $1 trillion of Bitcoin, of capital. Well, we can have 200 billion to 400 billion dollars of credit, and that then pays a fraction, 10% yield of the performance of the capital. Long term, the capital should be going up 20% a year, and then the credit could be paying 10%. And so what we're doing is we're creating this digital credit, and that becomes the basis, the fuel of the money economy, of digital money, digital yield, DeFi, TradFi. How big is the market for 10% return of capital dividends on an investment grade credit instrument? There's $300 trillion credit. And that $300 trillion of credit gives you after tax about 350 basis points. So what if I could give you 3 times that much? Okay, so is there $30 trillion market there? Yeah, the addressable market is trillions and trillions of dollars. So our end game is create that credit and strip away the risk. We're stripping the currency risk. We're stripping the economic risk. We're stripping the volatility. We're distilling the yield, compressing the duration. And we're handing people that want to invest their capital and credit this very low volatility, call it like a digital money market fund for people that trust digital assets and believe in digital capital, right? And then because we're doing that, that creates amplification for the equity. So our common shareholders, MSTR shareholders, they outperform Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does 20% over the long time term, they would do 30, we would expect, or 40, right? And right now, say Bitcoin it did 40% a year for the past 5.5 years, and our common stock is 60% a year. So we give amplified Bitcoin to the equity holders. We give damped, low-risk Bitcoin with cash flows to the creditors. And then because we're actually raising that money, we're the biggest buyer of Bitcoin. So we're powering up the Bitcoin network. And if you're a capital investor in Bitcoin, well, the Bitcoin price was 10,000 when we started. It's 80,000 now. There's $1 trillion of wealth that's been created. We're not the only actor, but we're an actor. So our job is to power up the Bitcoin network and keep driving that network. And I think we'll buy it at 100,000. We'll buy it at 200,000. We'll buy it at 500,000. We'll buy it at 1 million, 2 million, 4 million, 8 million. So it's a very simple business, which is just drive Bitcoin to millions of dollars, expand the capital network to $100 trillion, hundreds of trillions of dollars, create trillions of dollars of digital credit, and then create a lot of money for our common stock shareholders. And then the last point I'll make is there's a thriving ecosystem. Right now, if you look downstream of us, corporations are using our credit to power them. People are using our credit to power the ETFs. Companies like Apex and Saturn are creating yield coins that like stable coins that pay you 8% or 10% or 15%. And those tokens or yield coins are going into DeFi protocols, and people will loop that and generate 25 or 30%. So there are yield products, investment products, yield coin products, digital tokens, public funds. At some point, I think a bank, wouldn't it be nice if your bank just said, we'll just give you 8% on your money instead of 0% or 3%? You know, why not, right? And so at some point, we will power bank accounts, we will power crypto accounts, we will power yield coin tokens, we'll power DeFi and finance and trading. And of course, we'll power the people that don't trust any of it. Like, let's say you hate all of it and you don't trust corporations and you don't trust crypto. You just want to hold the Bitcoin, hold your own keys, you know, be self-sovereign. We're powering you up too, right? You're gonna own Bitcoin that's worth $1 million a coin, and you're not gonna have to trust anybody. So everybody kind of gets what they want, and we're even powering the TradFi people, like investors that buy private credit or junk bonds or investment grade bonds. They're buying illiquid, low yielding, risky instruments, and we're going to give them something twice as good or 3 times as good. So we're really just in the business of fixing the money and digitally transforming the capital markets. And we're creating this digital equity class, MSTR, digital capital, BTC, and digital credit, STRC. And I don't know why that just can't continue year after year at a bigger and bigger scale.
You move fast, your money should too. KAST lets you spend stablecoins across 170 plus countries with a card that works at 150 million plus merchants. No waiting, no bank friction. Just money that keeps up. KAST, keep it stable. Check the link in the description to learn more.